Wowie. Georgia Republicans really hate their voters. This is kind of incredible what they've done today. If you haven't already heard, they've signed a bill punishing every single person that chose to vote blue in 2020 and the beginning of 2021. Today, they signed a few hours ago, they signed SB 202. This bill is completely disgusting. I'm not even going to hold back here. It's completely disgusting. Normally, when you're in politics and you have beliefs that other people don't sit nicely with, they vote against you. You adjust those beliefs. You change. You adapt to what people actually want. Instead of doing that in response to 2020, though, Republicans in Georgia said, hey, we're just going to make life hell for the people that didn't vote for us. And it's strange the way that they're doing that. So if you look in here, and I'm going to point out some of the most incredible parts of 202 over here. By the way, this comes straight from ABC, which you can tell. It says that right at the top. Probably one of my favorite parts is this right here. Get the mouse into action here. Making it a crime to hand out food, beverages, whatever, to anyone that's voting while they're waiting in line. Lines are long. These lines, which were shorter in 2020 because there was mail-in voting available, these lines can be long. You could be sitting in these for 8 hours, especially in like really populous areas like the ones that swung this election. And now it is a crime not to commit voter fraud, not to call the Secretary of State of a swing state and try to convince them to swing the election your way. No, that's not a new crime. Instead, giving people food and beverages to make this annoying wait to do your primary like goal, the primary thing that a person does in a democratic republic, to vote. Doing this is a crime. Another one is voting outside of your precinct. And I'm just realizing now that I don't have a tab open. That's really important, but I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. Another one makes it so you can't vote in the wrong precinct past 5. Before 5, I should say, which is such a weird time. If I'm not mistaken, in Georgia, the polls close at 7. If they don't, they close at 8. But one of those two times, which is, why does it have to be after 5 o'clock? But if you wanted to vote earlier, something's just really weird here. It's making life a little bit harder for people for no particular reason. The next one is this, secure ballot drop boxes that can only be used when a location is open. And it also has to be inside. For me personally, I would have just voted on a different day, but for me personally, I threw my ballot in my box. I'm not in Georgia, but I threw my ballot in my box. It must have been like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something late at night, because it was just comfy for me, cozy for me. It's a perfect time for me, honestly. But probably one of the most infuriating things here, is the Secretary of State. Most states, the Secretary of State's pretty important, pretty integral in elections. And the Secretary of State in Georgia has definitely been important in the past. Here, they're punishing Brad Raffensperger for standing up, being nonpartisan, and going, hey, the election in 2020, in the beginning of 2021, perfectly fair. Here they're punishing him. They're taking away his ability to be a voting member of, like controlling elections, and giving a lot of that power to the General Assembly in Georgia, which is make it make sense. Why would that be fair? There's no sense behind any of these changes. It makes things harder to vote. It makes the process harder. But one of the weirdest things about it is the weirdest thing about it is it's not going to achieve much. It's not going to achieve what Republicans think it's going to achieve. If you don't know this already, in 2020, turnout was strong. And this does also affect mail-in ballots. Of course, turnout was strong all throughout the country, regardless of if mail-in voting was available. If you were in like Texas and you could only vote if you were over 65 by mail, you still turned out to vote. And all throughout the country, a study was done. All throughout the country, people voted, and there was extreme turnout. But it was decided, it was found in the study that, yeah, while it made things easier to be able to vote absentee for everybody, it didn't have a sweeping effect. It wasn't what decided the election. People voted because, and this is important, this is what came out of the study, people voted because people were interested. I guess interested is maybe not the best word to use here, but people voted because if they didn't, their daily lives are being just there's an upheaval here. Their daily lives are affected. People's daily lives are affected. Your daily life was probably affected if you're an American or if you live anywhere in the world. My daily life was affected. You have to wear a mask. There was no question. There was no real clear answer about how long it would take for the vaccine to reach the average individual. Now things are a little bit clearer with Biden. Adults 16 plus may be getting the vaccine over the summer. We might have a vaccine for kids soon. And that's all big. There's no question in my mind that things wouldn't be as clear and efficient as they are right now if Trump had been president, had been reelected or managed to steal office. So this is good. But mail-in ballots aren't what changed this. They're not. Being able to vote mail-in, if I didn't have the ability to vote mail-in, I would have just gone in person. I would have. I really would have. And I'm sure everybody in this country would have. And this study says that it would have. This is a study from Stanford. And it makes it very clear that this election would have been just about the same. Biden would have won it, regardless, without mail-in ballot voting. So all it does is annoys the voters who turned out for Democrats in 2020, and like it's stated at the end, it's not going to have a positive. It's not going to have any advantage, any benefit for the GOP, for the Republicans. It's just going to keep voter interest high for the Democrats who want to provide for them the ability to vote. And most importantly, because they're giving powers to the General Assembly and taking them away from the Secretary of State, all they're doing is empowering Brad Raffensperger. And Donald Trump, we got our ad blocker on today. 1 second. Donald Trump has said that he's going to endorse, or it has endorsed, about to play sound. We don't want that. Has endorsed the rival for Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, who stood up to Trump and said that he wasn't going to change the results of the election just for him, or at least the results of the Georgia election just for him. So this is just empowering him. For people that want someone who want a Republican that could stand up to Trump, maybe be the next governor, Brad Raffensperger could be that guy. This is a guy that clearly can stand up to Trump, is still a Republican, still has Republican ideals, and that's big. he could run in 2022. This could be empowering him to run in 2022 to be the next governor of Georgia. Now, I don't think a Republican will win in 2022, and I'll talk about why in a second. But Brian Kemp could perhaps be beaten just because of his poor response to COVID-19, and because he signed this bill, enacting, he had to sign this bill to get it going. He is the governor. He had to sign this bill that strips the Secretary of State of power. And if you didn't already know, I'm going to say this a lot. If you didn't already know, well, that crashes real quick. If you didn't already know, in 2018, when Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia now, he was the Secretary of State then, was running for governor, he stayed Secretary of State in spite of everybody telling him to resign, including former President Jimmy Carter, who was the governor in Georgia at one point. And I think probably the last Democratic governor, maybe one of the last. In that 2018 election, and he purged the voter rolls. It was because he was Secretary of State that he was able to get 340,000 people removed from the voter rolls. This was an election that was decided by, as you can see, like right over here, this was an election that was decided by 55,000 votes. So he purged 340,000 people from the voter rolls. And the majority of them were people of color, minorities, who likely would have turned out for Stacey Abrams, who was running then. He purged these voter rolls and still almost lost. Brian Kemp is not in the best place to win in 2022. When you look at this hypothetical polling right now, this is from beginning of January, so things could be looking better for Democrats already, or it could be looking better for Kemp. But from some of the most recent stuff, it's a battleground. It's a toss-up. It is very slightly for the Republican right now. This is a hypothetical Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp. Things are always close. Even with any Republican. They're always really close. It's battleground. So I think they could try to run someone a little bit better. It would be Brad Raffensperger. But the fact that he clearly doesn't have the support of Georgia Republicans in the government means he's not going to be able to. He'd be the best bet. He'd probably still lose to Stacey Abrams, but he'd be their best bet. And they're kind of empowering him right now to kind of try and do this at least. So this bill has been terrible. Sorry for that terrible transition there, but this bill has been terrible. And I pulled this up last video because it's important. But something needs to be done about this. There are bills like this all throughout the country that are trying to be passed by Republicans in 43 states. This is the first state to do it, and it's because they got 2 senators and the president voted from Georgia to be a Democrat. They got 2 senators, a black senator and a Jewish senator. And I'm sure that's not exciting to the kinds of people that might be in the Republican Party. That's who they voted for in these special elections. These are the people who won in these special elections, and it's why they're upset right now and passing bills that purposely make things harder for the people that voted against them. It's time to undo things like this. It's time to prevent these kind of things from getting passed and making things very difficult for Democrats in 2021, 2022, in the future. State races and all that. So the For the People Act, which is a bill that's trying to get through, it got through the House, I think, and trying to get through the Senate now. The only way it's getting through the Senate, because as I've been saying, the filibuster is something that bars anything from only getting through the Senate without getting 60 votes, which right now is an extra 10 from Republicans. The only way that happens is with Stacey Abrams' plan. I brought this up last video. Stacey Abrams' plan to give an exception to the filibuster for voting rights bills. That's important. Make it so we can do it with a simple majority, which Democrats have, with a vice president. This make it so a simple majority can pass these voting rights bills and change things, because it would invalidate most of SB 202, bring a standard to mail-in voting in every state, make things easy to vote every year, every single year, incentivize states for making things easier. And most importantly, it looks good on Stacey Abrams. It really does. Who I hope is going to run again in 2022, because 2018 showed that she is a winner. She will win when things are fair. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry I didn't start off with my normal little intro that we don't know each other. But maybe we are starting to get to know each other a little bit more. Hopefully you'll stick around for a few more of these. If you enjoyed, drop a little like, drop a little comment. What do you think about this? Maybe subscribe. Maybe I'll do these a little bit more frequently. Let me know what you think about the length of these. I did try to get this one a little bit shorter than the last two. Try to have things a little bit more organized. But yeah, let me know what you think. Share it around. But yeah, I hope you have a great one.